So we're struggling right now, and it's affecting every area of our life. Anxiety and depression have moved in, and I want to be transparent about how it's affecting our finances and our lives in general. So this is not scripted. We are just going to jump in and have some real talk today. Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Budget Bounce. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jen, and I'm going to talk a little differently today than I normally do on the channel, but normally we talk about money and living life on a budget and all that good stuff. And so you'll want to check out some other videos. If that's something that you're interested in, then you can hit the subscribe button. I don't always talk about these things, but I do have a playlist on my channel called Debt and Depression. And it's because mental health, mental illness struggles absolutely play a role for all of us in all areas of our lives, but I have tied it to a lot of the struggles that we've had with our finances. And I haven't talked about this stuff on the channel in a long time, but the struggle is real. So let me give you a little bit of background here. 2017 is when my world really started to crash down around me in many ways. It was happening at work and it was happening at home at the same time. I had no idea what was going on with Matt. He was basically imploding inside, and he didn't know how to communicate that. He'd never dealt with it before, and essentially Matt had a breakdown in 2017, and he was unable to work for 10 months, and he had severe anxiety and depression. It was debilitating. It was so scary to watch. There wasn't anything that I could do to help him get through that, and it was just a really, really challenging time. Aside from the fact that we lost his income, I was afraid I was going to lose him. And so that was 2017. And it took about 6 months for me to hit the wall and have my sick and tired of being sick and tired moment. And that was in January of 2018. And we went on a budget February 1st of 2018. And that's where the Budget Bounce was born out of, was that experience and me needing a place to talk about all of these things, because I couldn't really talk to Matt about them at that time. And I've got a couple of videos where I talk about this, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but that's really where we were when I started this channel. And originally I thought Matt was going to join me on the channel, and that has not been the case, and that's totally okay. Part of it was, looking back, he wasn't ready at that time. He was not ready to do any of this. And so I just took off with it, and here we are. And so I represent our whole family on the channel. But, we've had a lot of ups and downs, and I just did a debt update video very recently, and it's here on the channel, where I did our debt confession update for 2020. So it's been about 2.5 years since we started, and we've made tons of progress. And that video is solely focused on our debts and where we were and where we are now, so you can see the progress. But other things that we've done that have gone well are, we have cash flowed a whole lot of life that came at us unexpectedly. We cash flowed things that we wanted in life that weren't unexpected, that, we planned for and paid cash for them. And we have money in savings for the first time ever. And thank goodness, because we're in the middle of a pandemic that is affecting the world. But here in the United States, it's out of control, and we can't seem to get control of it here in the US. And so I'm a human resources manager, and I am dealing with COVID issues all day at work, all day long, every day, because we have protocols that we need to follow, that we've established for our workplace, and the things that we're going to do to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 to our employees. So as soon as we find out about somebody testing positive, or somebody who lives with someone who tested positive, or somebody who has had contact with somebody, like close contact with somebody who's tested positive, we take a series of steps to remove them from the workplace. If there's somebody who's working on site, we remove them from the workplace for X amount of time to get through that and protect everyone else. So we have been doing this for a few months, and it's really getting crazy. We came back from the holiday the holiday weekend on July 6th. We came back and it's just been really hectic. All that was all last week and all of this week so far. And it's just because we're having an outbreak again here. Like there's a resurgence happening in our area, and it's affecting so many things. So here's an example. We are in Illinois, and Illinois had a 5-phase approach to reopening after pretty much shutting down back in March. And we were in phase 3 during the month of June, and it was the metrics were fantastic. We were having on average, I think, less than 5 new cases a day. And we've only had 30 deaths. Thank the Lord. We've only had 30 deaths in our county. There's more in our metro area, but only 30 deaths in our county on this side of the river during this whole thing. So those numbers remain low, but the number of new cases all of a sudden at the last weekend of June just spiked. We had 52 in one day. The most we had ever had is 28 before that. And by the way, I'm in a smaller metro area with about 350,000 people. And so maybe it's closer to 400, I'm not sure. But anyway, we're not really big. We're a small city, basically. So to have a resurgence like that is really scary. And the day that happened I think it might have been the day before, I put a Facebook event out to have a graduation party for Henry, a high school graduation party for him on July 25th. And that's because he is having a mini graduation ceremony on Thursday, July 23rd. He gets to have, so these are all the things that are being affected. My son graduated from high school, and he hasn't really graduated. Like, it was so anticlimactic, and he's okay with that, but I'm not okay with that. I want to celebrate how proud we are of him and his accomplishments, even if he doesn't. And we've never had any we didn't have an 8th grade graduation party for him or anything like that per his wishes, but this is a big, big deal. And so I told him, I know you don't want this, but I need you to accept that you don't have a choice because we need to celebrate you. This is such a huge milestone in your life. And it's just the beginning. It's just the launch into the rest of your life. And so it started with he didn't have a graduation, and it's not until July. Now it's going to be mini graduations, and they can only have 15 students with 2 guests with the student. Only 2 people get to be there. And Henry gets to pick who those 2 people are, but that is so hard. I know how much my parents and his sister and his mom and all of these people wanted to watch him graduate. And he has to pick 2 people. And that's been weighing on us. And I scheduled this graduation party, and then this spike hit. It came out on the news on Sunday and Monday that the spike hit of new cases. And as the week progressed, I looked at Matt. It was the end of the week, and I'm like, it's only getting worse. How can we possibly have a graduation party? And so we had to cancel the graduation party. And so in light of all the things going on in the world, these seem like such trivial things, but because our life is so different, our lives are so different, whether we want them to be or not, it's these little things like this that are just eating at me. Like, I can live with not going to a restaurant. I'm okay with that. We used to go out to eat about once a week. I don't have a problem with not getting to go somewhere and have somebody serve me my food. But this is really weighing on me. So that's one example. And we have been, in my family, and when I say my family, I mean the people who live in my house, and also Xanthia and her family who live across town, my parents. As far as I know, everyone in our family, even extended families, cousins, aunts, uncles, no one has tested positive for COVID at this point in time. Thank the Lord, right? We are doing the things that we need to be doing here in our household. Matt still has to go out to work every day. Henry goes out to work every night. He works in food service, so he's gone 6 nights a week. I am working from home most of the week. I'm going in 1 day a week at this point. We rolled back our reentry at work. We were up to 2 days a week, and we rolled that back. In fact, they've said don't come if you don't have to, but I really have to be there at least 1 day a week. I won't get into all that. But anyway, so I'm going in 1 day, but I'm working from home the rest of the time. And that actually gives me some sense of relief. But when I've got two people going out of my house and coming back in every day, it really kind of, me working from home doesn't, them leaving negates me working from home. But we're doing the right things. And yesterday Matt went to work, and he got there, and he wasn't there very long when a coworker who had been out for a few days told him that her son had tested positive for COVID. And to give you the dates, so this was yesterday was July 14th, and she had been out since the 6th of July, so a week ago Monday. She had been out the entire time, and she and her whole family got tested because they were exposed to somebody who tested positive. So they all got tested, and her son tested positive, but everybody else was negative. And let me tell you how we do this at my place of employment. When an employee lives with someone who tests positive, or symptoms or not, that employee is unable to return to the workplace until everyone in the home, okay, let me back up, is unable to return to the workplace until the person who is positive tests negative twice. They have to take 2 tests. They have to be at least 24 hours apart, and they have to test negative both times. And the employee and everyone else in the household has to test negative before that employee can return to the workplace. And that is our best line of defense to prevent the spread to our workforce that has to be at work, because we have a warehouse and production facilities. So we have people who can't work from home. We have hundreds of people who are working from home, but we've got a few hundred people who are still, it's 200 or 300 people in our Texas and Illinois facilities who have to go to work every day. And so this is, along with all the things that we're doing throughout the day at the site to, all the cleaning processes and things like that are in place. This is our best line of defense, is keep those people out of the workforce, out of the workplace, so that they cannot, there's no way that they can infect other people there. This employee showed up. She tested on the 6th. They all got their results later in the week last week. And she showed up to work on Tuesday yesterday. And, the CDC recommends that when you have been in contact with someone, that you not return to work for 14, that you stay away from people, you isolate, quarantine is the word they use, that you quarantine for 14 days after you have been in close contact with somebody who has COVID. And this was 8 days later. And Matt has already been struggling with his anxiety and depression. I have been struggling with depression. I actually went into a depression in June, and I called in sick for 3 straight days, and because I could not get out of bed to even come down to my basement and go to work. I didn't have it in me because I was struggling. And that I don't think in my whole life I've ever had 3 whole days. I've taken a day because of that, but I've never had 3 whole days where I called in sick. And Matt has been struggling with his anxiety and underlying depression. And he had actually had a panic attack, an anxiety attack not related to this issue on Sunday night and Monday. So he was already predispositioned to it when this happened on Tuesday. And he was trying to control his emotions. And then I freaked out and said, this is unsafe. She should not be there. If she's going to be there, you need to not be there. So he went back after lunch to get things squared away and tell them, I can't be here right now. And he was in the middle of an anxiety attack anyway, so he couldn't function. And so he needed to leave, but he went back to see if they changed it and made her go home so that everybody else was safe. So needless to say, neither of us have slept very well. But when we look at the pandemic in general, this has been going on. It's the middle of July. It's been going on since the middle of March, really, is when things really started changing. And there have been a lot of little things. Like, I keep saying that I feel like I'm not negatively affected by all of this. And at least I haven't been so far, and I've been handling it well. And I'm just not, I don't think that's the case. And I've been going to therapy every week for 2.5 years. In December of 2017, when I just, the weight of everything going on with Matt and our finances, I basically broke around Thanksgiving. So in December, I started going to therapy, and I've been going every week since. And boy, did I need that appointment tonight. So I had that appointment. I go once a week, same time, same day. And I really needed that appointment tonight. And there's some weeks when I'm like, what am I going to talk about this week? But recently, I have needed to see him. And Matt needs to see his. I mean, he was on the phone right away yesterday with his therapist and his family doctor. And he's got appointments with both of them coming up. And the thing is, when you look at our budget, all of that to say, when you look at our budget and you look at our food budget and you see how much money we are spending, we are doing some stocking up in the things that I mentioned, but we are buying a lot of food that we don't need and eating a lot of food that we don't need. I am a heavy person. I'm a very heavy person, and so is my husband. And we both are spenders, and we're emotional spenders, and we are emotional eaters. And it doesn't matter what emotion it is. We are, if it's an extreme, a really happy or a really sad or really stressed, we're eating. And that is impacting our finances. We are not making good choices. I'm trying to buy healthy food and we're not eating it, so we're throwing it away. So we're throwing our money away. And I know that we are not the only ones. And I know that there are way bigger problems happening in the world for some people than what I'm talking about. But it's all relative. It's all relative to what you are experiencing in your life. And my therapist tells me all the time, I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing. I can really kind of pack stuff away so that I can focus on what's in front of me most of the time. But I have been struggling in the last few weeks to maintain that. And watching Matt struggle builds on my own. Matt's anxiety and depression is much worse than mine. And today we were in the throes of everything. I just could not even think straight. I was crying at work. I was not getting any work done. So I called my boss crying and said, I have got to go home and deal with this. So I left. I took PTO for the rest of the day. And here we are. It's tonight. And here I am talking with you. So I just wanted to let you guys know that, on the surface, I'm very transparent about our numbers and that kind of thing. And to keep the length of my budget videos down, while I do go into some discussion on some things, there's a lot of things that I cut out. Like, I'll talk about it and then I cut it out. And it includes a lot of the negative things because, not because we're perfect and I don't want people to know that things aren't perfect here. More because that's not what I want to. I want people to feel hopeful and inspired by what we're doing with our money. And I don't want people to get bogged down in life and our issues. You know what I mean? I really want this channel to be something that people can come to and find find that inspiration to do what they need to for themselves and their own families. And it's just, I have to share these things with you guys so that you understand where we are and how, I guess, the struggles that are underlying as we try to work through all of this stuff. So, anxiety, depression, if you are struggling with that, don't be afraid to talk to someone, and don't be afraid to talk to a professional or someone in your life that you can trust. And if you are at a point where you are having thoughts about hurting yourself, like you don't feel like it's worth it or that you could possibly overcome it, whatever it is, finances or otherwise, please, I'm going to put a number up here for the suicide hotline. Please call and talk to someone. This pandemic is wreaking havoc on everyone, and those that had underlying mental health issues prior to the pandemic coming are really, really suffering. And as an HR manager, I'm watching it happen. We have tons of leave of absence cases happening right now. And while, yes, a bunch of them are COVID related, we have so many that are not. They are mental illness issues where people cannot sustain. They cannot keep it together to get through the workday. So that's really what I wanted to come and say. Please reach out for help. Find somebody who can help you get through this if this is you, and recognize where you have your issues. And if you are just at a point where you can't possibly manage everything, accept that you're going over on your food budget because you're an emotional eater, and accept that for now until you can get your arms around it. I wish you all the very best, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for being here and cheering us on and listening.